Have you ever had a show that you wanted to introduce to a friend of yours, and the best way to describe it was a fusion between two other pieces of media? Even if you've never done it yourself, I'm sure you thought, oh, hey, this show is like a fusion between X and Y, right? Well, when it comes to the world of anime and manga, entire series are often pitched in this respect, offering what might be a single sentence description into a full show for people to watch. This is what the anime Love After World Domination's main appeal is. The fact that it's a romance anime, where the main characters are the hero and villain of a Power Ranger style, or to use the Japanese term, Super Sentai setting. And, well, let's talk about how well that actually uses that concept. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. Starting things off, I like to make it known that I'm actually a huge Power Rangers fan. Outside of Pokemon, of which I am clearly named, there are few other series that I've gotten as into or as knowledgeable about as Power Rangers. One of the only reasons I've not done anything on it in this show is because, well, when it comes to YouTube, I think Linkara is proving beyond a shadow of a doubt just how hard it is to keep anything from that franchise on his channel for very long. So yeah. Regardless, it's my love for these goofy spandex-wearing heroes that made me really interested in Love After World Domination when the anime was announced back in 2021. Power Rangers and Super Sentai being what they are, romance often takes a back seat to our main characters fighting giant monsters with silly weapons, giant mecha, and a lot of explosions. So the idea of a series that had romance being more of the central focus instead of being the afterthought was an interesting idea to me, and I wanted to see how it was handled. The anime focuses on the characters of Fudo Aikawa, the Red Ranger and leader of the Super Sentai team Gelato 5, and Desumi Magahara, Reaper Princess and a member of the secret society Gecko, who desire to take over the world.
Of course!
The first episode starts off with the pair on a date while the rest of the two teams are fighting in the background. Fudo trying his best to work up the courage to encourage his new girlfriend into holding hands. They only end up doing this after one of the other Gelato team members ends up coming to ask Fudo for help, forcing the two to fight to keep their cover. See, this is the major gag of the entire series, in which Fudo and Desumi's relationship is completely secret from everybody else. In fact, this is further punctuated in the anime as there are times where Desumi will actually attack Fudo to keep their cover, as seen by the end of this very first episode. How did they get together? Well, it's after the first time our Power Ranger team ever fights off against the Reaper Princess that Fudo finds himself attracted to her. After being encouraged by Gelato 5's resident Zordon, Professor Big Gelato, Fudo invites Desumi out to a secluded area at night to reveal his feelings.
I love you!
Yeah, if you couldn't tell by the names, the fact that our Power Ranger team is based off ice cream, complete with each color being a particular flavor, or the way Desumi's Reaper Princess outfit is designed, this is not exactly a serious anime. Now, considering how most Super Sentai by their very natures are a little silly, what with spandex-wearing heroes fighting rubber-suited monsters, this anime takes things up an extra notch here by making this budding romance of these two characters awkward to the point where even the most simplest of actions are met with blushing and flailing. Like, seriously, it's that over the top, especially when this is how they agree to date each other.
But fair warning, I have absolutely no idea how dating works.
Don't worry, neither do I!
Sad to say though, this first episode is actually the best you're going to be getting from the Super Sentai part of the equation in Love After World Domination, as the romance does take center focus. Nearly every single episode starts off the same way, with the Gelato team fighting off against Gekko's forces. Fudo and Desumi, meanwhile, are off in a secluded area hanging out and flirting with each other before dealing with the episode's romantic challenge or trying to prevent one of their teammates from finding out that the two are dating. And that's pretty much the only reason for these characters to not be in a public relationship in the first place. The fact that one is the Power Rangers leader and that the other is an evil general. Were this any other show within any other setting, it would be a cute romance about a dumb as a brick muscle boy and the pretty girl that just happens to have a soft spot for lunkheads. Of course, even if it were a show that did focus on the relationship and didn't have the Sentai aspects, it wouldn't save it from some of the other problems this show has, the biggest being its rather lackluster supporting cast. With our main couple both being part of rival organizations, we got a lot of different characters to keep track of and get exposed to. From the other four Rangers and the Professor of Gelato 5 to the evil mastermind, the monsters, and the other princesses of Gekko, there's quite a number of characters that we are exposed to. And most, if not all of them, are entirely one note, having a single character aspect gifted to them and rarely going beyond that. One of the better examples would be two particular members of Gelato 5, the blue and yellow rangers of the team. Hayato the blue gelato is basically Johnny Bravo, often hitting on girls every chance he gets while also getting slapped for his efforts.
But enough about me. Let's talk about me. What do you think of me?
Out of the entire team, he's the one that brings absolutely nothing to the table, being non-existent in terms of story importance for the entire series. Misaki the Yellow Ranger has a tiny bit more impact, actually having an effect on Fudo when she gives him some bad advice. But you want to know the most memorable thing about her in the series otherwise? It's the fact that in the theme song of the actual anime itself, she's shown having rather massive breasts and looking sultry to the camera. Yeah, she's basically there for Cheesecake for a grand total of maybe 2 seconds overall every episode. On Gekko's side of things, the side characters of Steel Princess and Beast Princess, who are portrayed as Desumi's friends, are a bit more developed, but they still fall into the one-note character states that their names hint to, with Steel being very reserved and quiet, while Beast is often loud, abrasive, and aggressive. Actually, if there's anything to be said about the show, it's the fact that Gekko and Desumi as a whole actually get overall more screen time, focus, and work done with them than the actual heroes of the show. But this is where we run into the problem of the disconnect between the evil organization's goal of ruling the planet and the fact that, well, none of them are really portrayed as evil, much less Desumi herself. Our main female lead is the kind of girl who owns a cat, loves to paint her nails, and has a pink room, and is otherwise shown very much being into the traditional girl interests. She'd much rather have a sleepover with her friends instead of actually focusing on trying to figure out how to defeat Gelato 5. We actually find out later that the reason for this is because being a villain is part of the family business, with Desumi's siblings all being raised by her mother and father to be supporters of Gekko. And while I do like the idea of joining up with the bad guy's side because that's how you were raised, it doesn't mesh at all with how Desumi is otherwise a pure and kind girl that would easily fit more with Team Gelato. Hell, the anime itself goes into an entire episode about this when the Green Gelato Ranger tries to recruit Desumi into the team, only failing to do so because this kind girl actually cares about the villainous team, and the fact that workplace romances are forbidden among the Gelato members. I think at this point, I've pretty much covered that, while an interesting idea and concept, Love After World Domination doesn't really do a good job of bringing the Super Sentai part of the show to the table. But I think it's also a sad thing to mention that it kind of fails a bit on the love aspect of things as well. Take how Fudo and Tsumi's relationship even starts, for example, with our Red Ranger here being smitten by her beauty and the choice of words Tsumi has about their fights being destined, and then he just decides that he loves her right there. Tsumi herself doesn't even feel the same way, only even allowing the dates because she's overwhelmed by how much Fudo has learned about her life and the real persona she has under that of a villain. All gained by social media, by the way, painting that in even a worse light than it already is. What's more is that the two really never do anything that could be considered remotely romantic, and nearly everything that they've done towards their relationship is played for laughs, like the hand-holding from the start. The two are never really shown as caring for each other on a deeper level, never helping each other through darker moments, or showing bad interactions that are made better through the pair of them talking things out and trying to understand their partner better. Heck, we never even get to see Fudo and Tsumi kiss throughout the series. And yet the final episode is trying to sell us on the importance of cutting a cake together like what we would see at a wedding. This isn't to say that the characters aren't believable as a couple, but it's more about the depth of the show itself. If there's one way I could really describe Love After World Domination, I'd say it's like a big ball of cotton candy. It's light, fluffy, and incredibly sweet, but there's little if anything really to it. While there's nothing here that's really deep or does any justice to either a proper romance or Super Sentai, there's little harm in it outside the fact that it kind of focuses a bit too much on the figures and beauty of the character, to the point where one of the story elements was Tsumi actually not wanting to give up her looks. Is it the absolute most worst thing ever because of that fact? I don't think so. Should you just want to sit back, enjoy a cute couple with Super Sentai trappings, then Love After World Domination is a wonderful show to get into. But if you were hoping for anything deeper as far as romance, Super Sentai, or anime in general, then there are better choices and by far more interesting ones. It's a little disappointing how Power Rangers, which rarely has ever gone as far as kissing, has done its romance overall better. But then again, that's just my thoughts on this new show, and I've never read the manga. Tell me, did you get the same impressions from it that I did, or were there other things about the show that you felt like it did well? I'm curious since I kinda delved right into the deep end with this one, and I left it feeling little different. Regardless, I hope I've done a good job to entertain you, and I'll do my best to do so again in the future. Hopefully you'll follow along with my content by subscribing and doing all those other things that gives us YouTubers life. If you wish to support me a bit more, I do have a Patreon where you can get access to bonus content. But until next time, stay frosty.